Welcome, everybody, to the Open Source Entrepreneur. I am Casey Green. This is my beloved co-host, Jimmy Norlander.
What's going on,
You guys
everyone?
may have seen him on a Facebook ad near you. I don't know. Jimmy and I were talking the other day, and he's getting ready to run some Facebook ads for his company, Desert Counseling. Jimmy, we have got some super cool things happening tonight that I am super stoked about, and we are going to jump on with our guest in just a minute. I see you trying to join. Don't worry, we're going to come at you in just a second. Whitney will be right there. But first, I got to call Jimmy out on a few things because this is a part of the episode that I love to do called Take It or Leave It. Now, Jimmy, this one's going to be a little bit controversial, not because, well, yeah, I just don't know how it's not going to be. So the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, has been in office for 31 days. 31 days.
Okay.
Whether you love him or hate him, I want you to take I want you to look at what he's done for the country from a corporate point of view. So forget that he's the president of the United States. If you were to put Donald J. Trump in as, and he was taking the same actions that you put him in as the CEO of your company, are you taking him or are you leaving him?
Oh, I'm probably going to take it.
Okay, why?
Just, you know, just business wise, like saving money, slashing things is, if I would like to someone as controversial as it is, I would like someone to come into my books and be like, hey, Jimmy, you don't need this. Let's get rid of this. You're spending $5,000 on printer paper when
Yeah.
you only really need to spend like $100 on printer paper. So let's just get rid of this waste and see if we can continue to grow.
Yeah, I actually agree. I'm going to take it. What he's been able to come in and accomplish. If I had that from a CEO inside of like the first 31 days of him joining my company, now certainly there are some controversial things, and usually people get into a C-suite because they are somebody who can come in, make decisions, move quickly. Sometimes they're quasi-controversial. There's something to be said for him having already been in office, so he gets how some of the things roll when he gets into office. But yeah, if I have a CEO that comes in and takes over the way he's taken over, sets new policies, slashes, unnecessary spending, like you said, that is something you want from a leader. Now, there are certainly more passive leaders who are very, very great. But if you are in a struggling company, you have to really look around and say, who are my key players? How do I move my business forward? And sometimes you need somebody like that who can come in, take things, the horse by the reins and just get going. So I
Yep.
agree. I'm taking him. I'm taking him as the CEO of my company. Okay. Ready for the quote of the week?
Ready.
Okay. This says you should have the kind of discipline that makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
My saying is be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Okay.
Just because in any type of change, as soon as if we're comfortable with something, we're just stagnant. And
Yeah.
so if we want to grow, the only way to grow, like the body's naturally lazy. It doesn't like doing things that are good for us. That's why eating healthy sucks. That's why going to exercise sucks. That's why it's easy to open a can of Coke Zero. That's why it's easy to sit home all day, watch college football, because it's lazy.
Yeah.
And things that are good for us are hard and it makes us uncomfortable. So if we want to grow, got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree. It's I don't know if a lot of people on here know, but I went through a weight loss journey where I lost like 100 pounds. And I went through a very uncomfortable situation, very, very publicly. Like you can find my weight loss journey online. I did it with a local influencer and with one of my good buddies. So it's everywhere. To lose that amount of weight, you have to be very uncomfortable, or you have to have so much discipline that it makes people uncomfortable. For like 9 months, I ate nothing but chicken and rice and broccoli. Now, arguably, we may not have done everything just right, the right way, but the amount of discipline I had going to the gym every day, sometimes twice a day, eating religiously, the exact thing, so I knew exactly what calories were going in. I cannot tell you how many people, of course, they were proud, but they were like, aren't you getting sick and tired of like chicken and rice? Do you want to have this thing? Like, do you want to do it? And it almost made people uncomfortable when we'd go out
Yep.
to a restaurant and I would look at the calories, like the menu that had the low calories, the 500 calories. It would make people uncomfortable that I would get up and go to the gym. You and I are early birds. We get up at 3:30. We're at the gym. We're at the front door at 4 o'clock. Us and a handful of other crazies. But people, to this day, I've been waking up at 3:30 for I don't know how many years now, and people still are like, just go to bed early. Or just why do you have to wake up so early? Can't you go later? It makes people genuinely uncomfortable when you're trying to better yourselves. And I fundamentally believe that's how you know you're on the right
Yep.
track. As soon as you start to make people uncomfortable around you because you're making really cool decisions, You'll start to know it because they're going to try to pull you back. They see you pulling away and going for a different lifestyle, going to get a better version of yourself, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm going to lose who Jimmy was or who Casey was. I better like hang on to them as much as I can." And I think it's our job, as we're the type of people who have crazy amounts of discipline, that we need to pull them along with us. We need to help them move forward. We need to help them grab their next level. And I think that's what really good, disciplined people do, is they help other people. And that's a common theme that I'm seeing with a lot of our entrepreneurs that we're having on, is they start at a very young age, sometimes doing lemonade stands, mowing lawns, but then they get this massive amount of drive and they're like, okay, I'm in, let's go. And so it's for me, I love it. I think it should make you uncomfortable. That type of discipline, it's really cool.
I agree.
It's really cool. All right, Jimmy, we've messed around enough. I am super excited to pull on. You were pulling her on. Uh-oh. Can you still hear me okay?
It kind of went fuzzy. A little bit of echoing. Hold on, Whitney. Something's going on with Casey's thing.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there we go.
Tried to cut over my AirPods. I didn't even tell it to. Freaking
So there's
technology.
a just so you know, there's a little delay right now.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what to do
Oh
about
no,
that.
okay, it's good. It's all caught up with the mouth. So it looked like one of those little those films where
Yes,
those old films where you hear the language, the words, and then the lips would just follow.
I love it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We are super excited to pull on our guest. And why we're pulling her on, I'm actually, let's see, I'm going to do it this way, which I don't normally do. And let's see if she's able to join. If not, I'm going to invite her my way. Let's see. Do I see her? Do I see her?
There
Yes.
she is.
All right, folks. We are so excited to have our guest. I'm going to read you in, Whitney, because your bio is amazing, and I need people to know who that we're dealing with tonight.
Oh,
So today
great.
we have an incredible guest who took a frustrating experience and turned it into a thriving business. Whitney Kilmer is the owner of the Dreaded Whit, a company she launched in 2020. Back in 2019, while building her clientele as a hairstylist, Whitney Extensions, but why can't I read? Whitney was on a mission to transform her own thin, lifeless hair into something she truly loved. That's when she discovered Dreadlock extensions. But her first experience was a disaster. The extensions she purchased were heavy, itchy, and even caused rashes. She knew that there had to be a better way, so she took matters into her own hands. Fast forward 5 years, and Whitney has perfected her craft. She's created lightweight, soft, and natural-looking dreadlock extensions, cut production time in half, and even reduced the weight of her extensions by 40%. Now she ships her products worldwide and teaches other hairstylists how to do it right. Whitney's story is all about innovation, problem solving, and turning passion into a global business. Guys, we cannot wait to have Whitney on tonight. Whitney, welcome to the Open Source Entrepreneur.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited.
We're so excited to have you with us. And we cannot, as soon as Jimmy said, hey, I have somebody that we need to interview, immediately, like our very first text message, I was like, I'm in. I already love her. Like, you have such good energy. And I just don't know how the universe is not pulling for you, because everything you have going on, the light you're giving, the education you're giving to people, I just don't know how you can't be successful.
You know, energy is energy. It just is what it is. It's just, I don't know, it's crazy that the more I just decide I want to like teach people, because this is an industry, it's not very well, like there's not a lot of education on
Yeah.
it. Like it's just kind of like you don't learn about it in hair school. You don't really learn about it unless someone went to go learn all the things and then decided they wanted to teach other people how to do it. So it's just kind of one of those things that like you learn as you go. I'm sure as like other trade services, you just kind of like, there's not like a school for it. You just kind of have to like jump in and learn as you go. So I've just decided, I'm like, I've like walked the path for like 5 years now. I mean, I don't really mess up anymore. I'm hopefully done with the
Yes.
messing up. And I've just reached this point where I know what causes those mess ups, and I just want to help other people not have those experiences where they're just messing up.
Well, and what you're saying right now holds true with a lot of I say influencers, a lot of entrepreneurs that we talk to. I'm going to call you an influencer every now and again. If you guys don't know, she's got like almost 17,000 followers on Instagram because people are drawn to her and what she does and how she does it. But certainly as an entrepreneur, it is something that we make mistakes in the beginning, right? We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But I want to rewind like back to your origin story just a little bit. Why, like, when you first picked up your dreads, like, what was the very first thought when you're like, okay, I want to put dreads on myself. Like, I want to get this going. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I remember it was like 1 in the morning and I was scrolling on my phone. I had just had my baby. My baby was maybe like a week old. And I saw this photo of this girl with dreads. And I've always loved dreads. Like it was on my like trending page. And I thought they were real. And I clicked on her page and then I was like looking, I was like, oh, they're like braided in. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I would have never, ever, ever made the jump to get real dreads because I'm like, that's too ballsy to just jump in. Like, if it doesn't look good, like,
Yeah.
but if there's like a temporary way to like see if I'd like this, like, I'm so down. And it was quite a bit of money, but I was like, you know, the promise was like they were going to last forever, which, if you're familiar with extensions, like weft extensions, like they only last like 6 to 9 months, and then you have to pay another $1,000 to $2,000 to like get new ones.
Jeez.
And so I was never gonna do that, obviously, but I was like, you know, I could drop like $800 for like lifelong extensions. And anyways, I just was looking into it and I was really worried because I've got like really thin, fine hair. Like,
Okay.
I don't know if you can tell, it's just like it's baby. It never matured. It just stayed toddler-esque.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I saw this and just thought I would give it a try. I didn't have much hopes of it being able to do anything because I knew my hair was really thin. But then, yeah, I just found that company. I honestly didn't even think about trying to make them myself. I just didn't even think about it. And then, yeah, I got them, and then the story goes from
Okay.
there.
So we alluded to the fact at the beginning that you had a terrible first experience. So you dropped like $800, it sounds like, and you have this experience where you're like, "What did I do?" Like you're breaking out in rashes.
Mhm.
Why did you just say, "Okay, you know what? I like was the thought process. I love these enough. I got to figure out how to make my own." Tell us kind of what happened. How you went from this terrible experience with the rash on your back and whatever to all the way to like now you make your own dreads.
Mhm. So what happened was, so I liked the general idea. Like I could
Okay.
tell that there was like some traction going on. Like I didn't love the color. She gave me a color that I didn't ask for, and then was just like, well, go home and try it. And like if you don't like it, like I'll change the color. But like let's just see how you like
Oh,
it.
were
So I was
they
like, okay,
local?
yeah,
Okay. Well, don't name drop then. We don't want to get
yeah.
into
I
it
was
further.
I wasn't gonna.
All right.
No, I wouldn't name drop.
Or we
So
can in
anyway,
the after dark edition, like where we get like really juicy.
that's for the black market live that we're doing.
There you go.
That's after midnight.
So, anyways, I could tell that I liked the style enough. It was just the color, the texture, and the physical discomfort was the main problem.
Sure.
Like, you know, I had multiple layers of clothing that I was getting irritation through. I couldn't like I remember I would go to hug my husband and I couldn't like put my head back because it would like send nerves down my like
Oh,
my what is that, my
geez.
L4,
Yeah.
L5. So it just they were almost 2 pounds. They were just really heavy,
My
and
gosh.
I know, I was actually with one of my hairstylist friends, and I was telling her, I was like, oh, like I'm so mad because like I dropped like $1,000 on these, and like I like them, like I like the idea of them, but like they're just not what I want. She's like, dude, why don't you just make your own? And I was like, why didn't you tell me that like 3 days ago? Like, I didn't think of that. Like, why didn't you just tell me? So, anyways, I just made my own just to make my own. It wasn't like this thing where I was like, oh, I'm gonna like start this business and I was already a hairstylist. So I've been building my clientele for a couple years, but I just had the intentions to make them for me because I was like, I want good hair for me.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I had pretty, uh, edgy clients, if you will say,
We
like
will
more
say,
dread.
and
What?
we will say,
Yeah, just like more like dread like clients, like clients that would get dread.
yeah.
So, anyways, I made them for myself, and then I had like 2 or 3 clients immediately ask if like I could make them some, and that's when the idea was like, oh, like I'm not even trying to like advertise this. Like obviously other people like it, I like them, and then it just kind of went from there. The idea started. I was like, maybe I could do this. Like maybe I could turn this into something, and then I think it was by the end of 2020. So that was like January of
Okay.
2020, um, very end of 2019. And then by August, I was realizing how easy it was because I think before, and you guys will recognize this too as an entrepreneur, when you're like trying so hard to make something work, it just works less,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And then you just follow the flow of where you're meant to be, where you feel aligned with, like where things are easy, what you're good at. Like Jimmy probably doesn't have to try to get people in his chair to psychoanalyze. Like people just like good at what he does, and the energy attracts that.
Yeah, no, I can attest. There's literally a waiting list for Jimmy and his services, so I can totally attest to that.
Can I say something really quick with Whitney?
Please.
What's so awesome about it is a lot of people, say like with a restaurant, they go to a restaurant, they have a bad experience one time, and they just don't go back.
Yep.
What was cool about her idea is, she went, she got the dreads, she didn't have a good experience, and she could have easily have said, "It looked good, I tried it, it wasn't for me," but she had the idea like, "Do you know what? I'm gonna make this better." And
Yeah.
so she took something that, you know wasn't a good experience, but made it her own, where not only was it good for her, but then she had people coming to her saying, "Hey, I want some of those."
Yeah, absolutely. And really, what's really intriguing is you didn't start out to necessarily be an entrepreneur, but like maybe a little bit, right? Like you went to hair school, you had a passion for it, you got some actual training, some very clinical training, but this niche just kind of like started to come your way from I'm going to call it some inspiration, right? Like you had a bad experience, like Jimmy said, and you mentioned, but you just kind of just things kind of kept coming your way. Do you ever feel like you were just kind of led and guided down this path to be the Dreaded Wit?
Oh yeah. I actually remember, so when around this time I had just had my daughter, my ex-husband never worked, and I was trying my very best to build my clientele, only working like 1 day a week. I mean, I don't even know how we paid for our bills. Like we were using FAFSA to like pay for groceries. Like we were so poor. And so that $700 I used to spend on these extensions was our whole savings account. And I remember late at night, I literally was like to him, I was like, I know this sounds weird. And he thought I was totally just like, whatever, Whitney. Because I was like, I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like God's telling me to use this money in our savings account to do this. Like something's gonna happen. And I literally remember saying that because I literally felt God, the universe, whatever force out there, like there was this feeling inside of me that was like, this is going to be good. Like I couldn't really figure out why or how. I was just kind of like, I was really depressed at the time as well. And, I just had my baby and I was like, maybe this is just gonna like make me feel good. Like that's kind of what I was thinking. I had absolutely no idea that it would have been the catalyst to like every piece of freedom that my business then gave me and like my ability to like embody that in its fullest. Like I would have never been able to come up with that back then.
Well, it's so intriguing. It's so many entrepreneurs have that pivotal moment where they are dropping their last 800 or 1,000 or they're on food
Yep.
stamps. And the really cool thing about that is it follows that same mentality of burn the boats, right? You're burning the ships. Like you cannot go back. Like it is this or nothing. Now, fortunately, we live in a really great state where there's a lot of opportunities. If something were terrible to happen, people will be there to help you out. But that there's something to be said about backing an entrepreneur into the corner, right? Like we are going to like win or die here. And
Yes.
and what it ultimately does, like 99% of the time, it finds a way, right? Because you will not be stopped. And I love that about the entrepreneurial spirit and what you have going on. What we're gonna, but I don't want to lose this question. The real Kim Shepherd says, "Whit, were they DH?" I don't know what that means, but I want to make sure we ask her.
Uh-oh, it must be.
She's asking about the company I went
Oh,
to.
Okay, I mean,
that's
just give her like one of these or one of these.
that's
Oh,
after the After Dark
I
That's after
episode.
dark.
I feel like my reaction already answered the question.
Real Kim Shepherd, just come on back after midnight. Like we'll like handle that then. Join us at 12:01. It'll be great. Yeah, we'll let that one slide. So not only did you find yourself becoming an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
but now you find yourself having to do product development, step into a bit of a supply chain situation. How was that? How was that learning curve for you? Let's start.
Yeah.
Let's start talking about product development. Like, what was that? Walk us through that journey for you.
Right. Okay. So my initial product, I actually grabbed some because I was like, oh, if it comes up, I want to show. So I YouTubed
Okay.
it first just to get the general idea. Like I was like, I can like kind of like go from there, but I kind of want to see the general idea. This was what YouTube taught me how to make.
Okay. Is that an original?
These are the OG Dread Whit.
That's like your
The
that's like
OG.
your first dollar you hang on the wall.
I was like, oh, these are gonna make me a millionaire. I'm so good. But yeah, so I looked up the general idea, and I think for maybe a month or so, I was just kind of going at it. I haven't told anyone this. I would get the hair, I would wrap it around my toe. And
Yes.
I was like, I didn't know how else to do it. The girls on YouTube were just like, you just wrap it around your toe and then you back them. And I'm like, oh my God, like this, making these dreads for my clients around my toe.
So
They
people
were
walk
my
around with toe hair and they have no idea.
they were my friends and I would clean my toes, but
That's
and they
hilarious.
didn't know. But yeah, I got the general idea down, and for about the first 2 years, I had this way of making them, and it would probably take me Mm, maybe about 15 minutes to make a dread. And they were very smooth, very like straight dreads. And they were maybe 14 to 16 ounces for a full set, which that was still lighter significantly than my original set. And I was like, yeah, these are good. And then after maybe 2 years, oh, actually, it might have been no, yeah, after 2 years, I started being realizing it was just like taking too long to make them. I'm like, I need to figure out a way to make these faster because I don't want to be spending. I mean, I was spending like 10 hours making a set, which, still good money. That's still whatever, like $100 an hour. But I was like, if I can make these in 3 hours, I want to do
Yeah.
that. And actually, what happened is I was going on a trip to Hawaii and I wanted to make a new set that was like pretty and colorful. And I didn't personally love what my dreadlocks looked like right at the beginning. I liked what they looked like 2 months after wearing them. And so I was like, you know what? I want to figure out a way to make dreads look the way they look in 2 months the day I make them. And it was that trip and that idea and that whole thing that made me make my new method, which cut production time down by like what 200%. Make it takes me 3 or 4 minutes to make a whole dreadlock now
Oh,
instead of 15.
dang.
So,
So what you're able to do is find a way, like the thing that many entrepreneurs struggle with, you were able to find out how to scale appropriately.
oh wait, sorry. How to what?
How to scale. You're able to scale your business
Oh,
because instead of taking hours and hours and hours to do one set, now you're down to like 15 minutes.
oh yeah. Yeah. So I can make a whole set now. I mean, there's like a couple variables and factors that go into it, but I mean, it used to take me 3 days of work to make a set, and I can make a whole set now in 4 hours. And
Amazing.
that's with making the colors custom as well. So that is incredible because
It's
in that
super cool.
process of cutting my production time down to 3 to 4 minutes, I also almost halved the
Yeah.
weight of product. So like these, I don't know if you can tell, they're so light. Like I did a client today, she's wearing 10 more than an average client. She's like, I literally wouldn't even know anything's on my head.
That's amazing.
And so that was huge. I cut the time down, production time like crazy. I decreased the weight, which increased the quality of the product. And so it's like, I was just like, oh my God. And then over the last, from that was spring of 2022. That was spring of 2022. And then I spent kind of like a year and a half, let's see, up until last spring.
Okay.
Would that be 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I spent 2 years trying to figure out kind of what I wanted to do with it. Because I was still kind of experimenting every set, like, oh, what if I do this? Or what if I do this? And now I've landed. And for the last year, I've been doing the exact same thing on every single set. And it's crazy how the quality is still there, but me, the maker, am gaining like 300% of my time back. And I increased my
Yeah. I
income.
was going to say, you gave yourself a pay raise.
Yeah, I got a mega pay
Yeah.
raise.
Which is nobody's going to get mad about that.
Yeah.
Well, and which, it's kind of like that buy back your time, where you were able to give your pay raise, so you were able to spend time with your daughter. You didn't have to worry about spending time with your family. They got to go to bed,
Yeah.
and then you worked. And I was like, do you know what? I can make a whole set in just a couple hours without any toe jam and still, Yeah, but still make a great product and still have time for my little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, super important. That is a struggle that I'm glad you brought that up, Jimmy, because that is a struggle that a lot of entrepreneurs have. Is I'm going to say like time boundaries, because they're so focused on their business, and oftentimes their families or their home life will suffer. And so the fact that you've been able to not like there's certainly a grind that comes along with wanting to do something for the first time or scale a business or be an entrepreneur. But when you're able to get that time back, especially with family members, like that's such a beautiful thing. So I'm super stoked that you've been able to scale appropriately and get to a really good spot. Now, talk to us a little bit. You've tripped, you've fallen into supply chain. You've had to figure out how to make these. You drastically reduced the time it takes to make them. Talk to us about how you started. Did you always use the same material? How are yours different than a lot of other dreads that are on the market? Why should because there's that story about and people are going to listen to this and they're going to say maybe they're paying Whitney who knows how much to come in and do dreads, right? We haven't even talked about price yet, but paying her how much? And there's that old story about the guy that comes in and he has to fix this ship, right? And he comes in and he takes a hammer and like 5 minutes later he's like boom, hits
Yeah.
the thing and fixes the ship. And he's like, great, $1,500, whatever the price tag was. And like, that was 5 minutes of work. And he said, yeah, but it was like 20 years of knowing where to hit that thing, right? Paying for the experience on that. And so talk to us about all these revolutions you've made in your business. How do you feel like, I'm not going to get you in hot water. Just talk to us about the evolution of the material you used and how that helped make it a little bit easier for you and better for your clients.
Right. So that's another thing that's actually crazy. The dreadlocks I make now and the dreadlocks I make before, it is the exact same tools, product. The only
Very cool.
difference is me blending the hairs together to make the colors different than before, and the method that I make. So I'm using the exact same material, which blows people's mind because when you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, they look like completely different. Like one is like pretty and natural. It looks like real dreads, and the other is like very clearly like an unnatural, just solid brown. That's kind of like from like a crayon or something. Like it's not ugly, but it's just kind of like came from the manufacturer, brown plastic hair. And so it's just crazy to see how no matter the quality of the hair, that's not even most of the recipe. Like 95% of the recipe is going to be the method. Because I mean, synthetic hair is synthetic hair. You can have like slightly higher quality or less quality synthetic hair,
Sure.
but in the end, plastic is plastic. So it's mainly the method.
Okay.
Um,
Now I'm assuming that's something you hold near and dear. Is that kind of a trade secret for you, the method behind that?
it is, but I am in the process, which will be coming into the works within the next week or so. I've actually created this whole online platform teaching people every single piece of my recipe of the dreadlock making
Which I
that people.
and I do want to talk about that here, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. Jimmy, did I cut you off? Were you going to say
No,
something?
I'm interested when we go talk about this.
Jimmy wants
It's
Jimmy wants
exciting.
to start making dreads. He wants a career change.
I mean, could you
He's
picture
like,
me?
yeah, he's like I'm out. I want to address a couple things that first and foremost, I didn't before I met you, I didn't know that dreads were not always like actual hair, right? I always believed that dreadlocks were like, yeah, to grow your hair out, and I don't know the methodology, like honey and dirt. I don't know what they throw in there,
Yeah.
but something like that.
Mhm.
How many people are actually walking around with dread extensions, or what do you call? What's the appropriate name for what you're like? Just dreadlocks?
That's the $1 million question. A lot of people are very opinionated on what the hairstyle is
Okay.
called due to like cultural things. I call them synthetic dreadlock
Okay.
extensions. Some people will call them twist extensions, but most people are going to call them just dreadlock extensions,
Okay.
temporary synthetic dreadlock extensions.
So you have these beautiful dreads. You put them in. It takes how long? When somebody comes to see you, they sit in your chair. How long does it take to put them in?
Depends on how many dreads and how long their hair is, but it's about 2.5-ish hours for me to braid in a full set. That's like regular length hair.
Okay, so you're in the chair for about 2.5 hours.
Hmm.
What does care look like on these? How do you go home? How do you take care of them? What do you do? And how long do yours last?
So The dreadlocks themselves will last forever. I've got clients that I've been braiding every 4 or 5 weeks for 5 years, and their dreads are still just as good
That's
as new. So
amazing.
they're obviously with my previous method, so they do look a little different. But even the dreads I made 5 years ago, they're still up and running and doing good. So, yeah, you wear them for up to 5 weeks. That's another thing that's a little frustrating. So I went to hair school. I'm a hairstylist. So I have, like, thankfully, I have that background and understanding and foundation on top of being a dread stylist. Most people I see on the internet, like at least 85% of the dread artists are just kind of creators. Like they wanted to make a thing, but they didn't go to hair school. They're not a hairstylist doing hair. So a lot of them will be like, yeah, you can wear these for like 8 to 12 weeks. And that is like so much damage can happen because, I mean, 8 to 12 weeks, your hair is probably going to grow an inch, inch and a half in that time. And the braid is like moves. Like with other extensions, it's clamped down there. It
Okay.
doesn't move. The braid is like, is, what's the opposite of stagnant?
Growing.
It's dynamic.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll take
It
dynamic.
works right now.
Dynamic dreads. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it moves like they slip,
Oh
they
yeah.
move, so there
Yeah.
can be tangling and matting, and anyways, there can just that leaves room for damage, which a lot of people experience, and then they're like, oh well, these I got dreadlocks from someone and they damaged my hair. It's like, well, you left them in for 3 months. And then you got a lot of breakage because of all the knotting. And so there's a very specific aftercare system of not leaving them in longer than 5 weeks, making sure you're brushing them out properly with dry hair, and also making sure they're the proper weight
Okay.
because each hair section of hair can only support so much weight without kind of blowing up with tension bumps, which can then cause hair loss in those areas. So there's a blurry area that a lot of people are just kind of like willy-nilly jumping into.
Yeah. Now, of
So
course, if you're in Utah, they should only come and visit you. But assume that some people listening to the podcast are all around the world and all around the nation. What are some questions they should potentially be asking somebody when they go in to get dreads? Like, how do they know if they're getting a good person or a bad person?
Right. So, I mean, relatively speaking, a dreadlock is a dreadlock, and most people, it's going to be style preference. And but outside of style preference, I do believe that there is a good dreadlock and bad dreadlock in the sense where there are dreadlocks that will cause damage. Whether you like the way it looks or not, that's up to you.
Okay.
But just outside of a style preference, I feel like the weight is going to be the biggest thing because, if it's really itchy, then like, and that you can deal with that because you like the way they look, like whatever. I don't want to itch, but like if you like that, fine. But weight, I feel like, is going to be a really big factor because a lot of dread artists, I mean, I have people bring in their own dreads from other artists that I'm happy to install as long as they're not going to damage their hair. So I always weigh them, and more time. I mean, I don't know if I've ever weighed a set that weighs less than a pound and a half. And oftentimes, especially with companies that are having their clients buy like 65 dreadlocks, which I think is so absolutely outrageous. I don't ever put more than 55 on my clients, but that's just the way I do things. I feel like understanding and making sure that your dreadlocks are never going to be more than 14, 15 ounces, I feel like is absolute key
Okay.
to make sure you don't have any damage.
well, I think along with the hair damage too, you have that many dreadlocks that heavy, just a headache you're gonna have.
Yeah.
And just people don't realize, heck, I remember when I was flying and I just had the AirPod Maxes. After like 6 or 7 hours of those, you can just feel the weight on your head. So I can only imagine that hair just pulling on you
Mhm.
constantly.
Yeah.
Listen to Jimmy just casually drop. I'm wearing my AirPod Pros for 6 or 7 hours.
Uh,
Like, I don't know where you're flying, Jimmy, but like a little humble brag from Jimmy.
you know,
Like,
when those died, I just put on my other pair that I
that's
had all
right.
packed up.
That's
So
right. I love it. So now you have a very successful business. You're creating your own dreads, but you're also creating them and you're shipping them all over the place.
Yeah, all over the world. I've shipped to like New Zealand and like London and
And
Canada.
and I think this is really important because I believe I know the answer to this, but how are people finding out about you? How do they know that like they need to order dreadlocks from you?
Honestly, pretty much Instagram. I recently just started using TikTok because I'm like, so the TikTok ban happened, and I just had this feeling of like, ah, I never did the TikTok thing. And then it came back up 12 hours
Yeah.
later, and I was like,
Yeah.
so I immediately was like, I'm just gonna post on TikTok every day. And I think I've got 4 or 5 clients from TikTok since then, which it's been like maybe a month and a half. And I'm like, man, like, the best time to plant a tree was like 100 years ago. The next best time is like right now.
Yep. So,
So
so that's, I was hoping you would say that because so many businesses, your experiences, you are, I'm so excited I can't talk. You're experiencing some really cool organic growth. You looked at an opportunity and you said, you know what, I'm all in. And you absolutely said something that most people completely ignore. You said, I'm posting on TikTok how many times?
like once or twice a day.
Once or twice a day. This is not, I mean, this is something that people get really frustrated. We see this all the time. So I'm like, my background is in marketing. So I've been in marketing for 20 years. And it's so incredibly frustrating to watch clients who come into us and we'll start posting, we'll get things going, and like, it's not working. It's not working. The social media game is it's a marathon. It is not a sprint.
Yeah.
You can certainly get what I'm going to call lucky, right? You can definitely get lucky. You can have something hit, you can have something go big, but it is a long game. Talk to me about the patience it's taken to grow. So you just started TikTok, but Instagram, you're about 17,000 followers on Instagram, which congratulations. That's actually a dynamic following. That is really, really cool. Talk to me about the patience and the persistence it took to grow social media like that.
Yeah, so once I started my dreads business, it started at least going up a little bit from where it was going before. I mean, for years I was posting, I was like maybe 400 followers, and then I was kind of capped at like 4 to 6 thousand. But honestly, it is just I've had like I think 1 week in the last 5 years where I haven't posted, and it was like I just needed a week break, and I was like, if this really screws me up, like whatever, I need a
Yeah.
break. And it was really good to help reset my account too. But I've showed up every single day. I have posted every single day, even if it was just a picture. I think a big part of it is I show up as me and I build a relationship with my audience. I think a lot of people think it's about the product, and it's really not. It really isn't. Like, I can't tell you how many people are like, I was trying to decide between these 3 artists and I just liked you. Like me, not my hair. Really? I mean, they love the
Yeah.
hair, but they liked all 3 styles and they're like, "Oh, but like I really just like Whitney. Like I want to like be part of that." And so like I know for me, like when I get a tattoo, like a lot of times when I'm picking, it's like who I like. And so it's about the relationship. As cheesy as that sounds, it's about resolving problems in people's life, making them, or you know uh, them understanding that you care about them, and that you're not just sitting here trying to steal their money and you don't care about them. Like, it's so much more. It's about this whole connective experience when you're solving problems. That's why Apple is more successful than the other one, Android.
Yeah.
Like, Apple makes it a lifestyle. It's like a community, and it's like we are, it's different than Android. Android is just a thing that you get. Apple is a lifestyle that you get to like be a part of,
Yeah.
you know.
And what you said is really, really important. I don't necessarily want to dive off on a social media diatribe because I do love social. I agree. It is such a powerful tool. But I also agree 100% with what you said, and that social media is a game of authenticity. People are going to connect with you as a person. And as a matter of fact, there are brands that are so good about building that human connection and relation that they like never drop a call to action. They just go about being themselves. And because they're so good at it, people will flock to their products. And I've seen that work time and time again where you put, and I can't tell you how many corporations I've talked to, and I've said, it's great. We can try to build an account for you like a Nike, but even Nike has faces, right? They have a Serena or a Venus Williams, they have a Michael Jordan, they have a Kobe. There's still a face behind what they're trying to do. And so you're very fortunate in the fact that like you are your brand, which is amazing, and you get to be authentically you. And that is going to drive people to you and have people resonate with you in a way that they never would have if it was just like all the time, buy my dreads, buy my dreads, buy my dreads. So congratulations, because you are doing everything right. And can I make a shameless plug? This is not my book, but if people are like super passionate about learning about social media, if you do not get this book from Gary Vee, you're foolish. Like, Day Trading Attention is like the Bible for all things social media related. Read it every day. Like it's seriously like the social media Bible. It's
Do
amazing.
you, I want to say
But back,
something really quick on that, Casey,
yeah,
with her with the social media and just being so authentic. It's cool. I mean, you can even tell like this conversation, like how sincere Whitney is,
yeah,
and you bring it back in. She has customers that bring in other people's dreads, and she could easily be like, no, what, that's not mine. You have to buy mine. But she's so authentic. She cares so much that she's going to put other threads in. And my guess is because that's who she is in the long run, they just buy her dreads already
yeah.
because they're better, they're lighter, but because of her and she connects with it. And that's how she's been able to grow such a great following.
Agreed. So that actually spun a question up for me. Do you ever like inadvertently put like half of yours and half of somebody else's? So they're like walking around with the head. And they're like, why is this side so light?
Yeah, I have actually last week I did that. I have this one girl that has a couple from another company, and she really likes the colors of those. I don't have those colors, and I could try to make them a little bit like them, but she just likes the exact color of those ones. So she
Yeah,
just mixes mine with hers. And I have multiple clients that will mix and match. There are certain other methods and techniques of dreadlock making, like the crochet specifically, if you're familiar with dreadlock
I
making.
am not.
If you put mine with those, it will make mine fuzzy because they're so fuzzy and like knotted, it will like kind of act like Velcro, and it'll like make mine fuzzy, and so they won't mature and stay like this
Interesting.
at the beginning. So I don't recommend that my clients do that, but if it's the same general method of the twist, then like yeah, I have clients do that all the time.
Um, That's really cool. Jimmy and I have noticed that as we've talked to multiple entrepreneurs that really kind of giving back. And I know that like they're not necessarily buying your dreads, but they're coming to you for a service because you're good at what you do. And in some small way, even though they're paying you a monetary like fee, you very easily are giving back to the community because you could say, you know what, I'm only going to sit with you if you buy my thing. And I am under the impression that, well, I don't know how I do that. That was not planned at all, but
Yeah,
like
this
it just
this
happened.
Turn.
Yeah. See, like, Jimmy, what do you got? Jimmy, come
oh,
on, do
I
it.
did.
There
There
it
we
is.
go. There we go.
See,
There we go.
production value is through the roof. That's what happens when you're like 14 episodes deep and money's just flowing in. You have
Well, and
production.
this is what when you have the community of apples. That's what she's
That's
saying.
true.
And Android
That's
can have done
true.
all this. They would have been left in the corner just alone.
That's true. That's very true. Um, So this I want to rewind a little bit because it's 2019, like we're kind of COVID time frame. Like you started right during COVID,
Yeah,
basically.
I,
Um, I mean,
shutdown happened right when I started. Yeah.
was that like terrifying? Because I mean, you would just drop down your $800, your $1,000. That was like all the money you had, following a dream, and the world says we're going to shut you down.
Yeah, actually, everyone and their dog used their stimulus on me, so I was
Oh.
fine.
So coming out of it, you were fine. Yeah, yeah.
I literally, it was like tax season, the stimulus just happened, and I was like,
I love it. But this reminds me, right? How do you, as a business owner, how do you put away for a rainy day? Because there are going to be ups and downs. You might be going on vacation, whatever that looks like. How do you, and this is a part that some people don't like to talk about, the finances, right? Because you have to worry about things like, okay, I got to bring, I have enough to buy supplies. I have to take care of my family, maybe vacations. Do you have any other employees that you have to pay? How do you save up for a rainy day? How do you manage your finances to make sure you're always in the black?
yeah, so I have spiritual I practice spirituality a lot, and I use this a lot in my business as far as like manifesting, whatever you would say. But I literally tell the universe exactly how many clients and orders I want each month, and then it just happens. So, as far as like the product or like supplies, I order hair like once a year, and like hair is maybe like $5. So it takes me maybe with shipping, it's maybe like $10-15 of hair per set of dreads, where I'll make like
Okay.
$1,200. So the supplies for that aren't really incorporated. What I feel like is hard and tricky is the whole taxes thing, because I'm in a certain tax bracket where I need to be paying quarterly taxes.
Yeah.
Um, and
Welcome.
huh?
Jimmy says
Welcome.
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 I know it's it is what it is. Maybe things will be different.
They'll get better, right? Keep going,
Yeah.
your scale. But it's really funny. You should definitely not apologize for that. And I'm actually glad you dropped the amount, because what people don't understand is, yes, this is an investment, but it lasts a lifetime. Like, you haven't bottomed out on what your extensions can do, which is super impressive. I don't know how many other products you can buy at $1,200 that are going to last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, as long as you take care of them, right?
Especially like a beauty
Especially
product.
a
Yeah.
beauty product. That is like unheard of. And so
Yeah.
there may be some people that are like, the hell? Did she just say $1,200? Right? Yeah, she did. And you know what she did? And she didn't even bat an eye at it, because she understands the value of what she has. She understands and stands behind her product. And that helps you sleep at night. If
Mm-hmm.
you go $1,200, like, you will not sleep at night. But you unapologetically know you have an amazing product. You stand behind your work. And so I think it's totally appropriate for people to like be very proud about what they do, how much they charge. And congratulations, you found a way to make a living on a business that is really cool and has fantastic margins. Every business in America wants better margins. They want fantastic margins.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have it, if your margins are thin, you're not going to be in business very long. That's just the way it works,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I am congratulations on not being even remotely ashamed about what you have going on, and being able to stand behind your product. I love that you said manifestation. And by the way, like, I don't know how this is happening. I must be manifesting books. I literally have like the keys to manifesting right here, in my office. And so, like, it's fun. These are all on my desk. These are things I read like on the daily. And so I love that. I actually do want you to kind of dive into, if it's okay if we pivot for just for a second, because I do believe that there is a certain force that you put out into the universe when you talk about manifestation. Some people will call that positive thinking. Some people will call it manifestation. Sometimes it's a mix of the two. Some people will call it a higher power, whatever that is. Can you walk us through how you manifest?
Yeah. This is something that I've been flowing in different understandings of, and a lot of it at the beginning was me feeling like I had to do and be something to get X, Y, and Z. And I think that is kind of toxic spirituality. It's kind of like, like at church, it's like, oh, I'm going to go give this person a cake so that I can get blessings,
Yeah.
right? But, and the thing is the action is still the action. You're still going to go give a person some muffins or bake them cookies, whatever. But the why is the key in the manifesting, because the why and the desires and the intent behind it is what's going to blast back in your face. So if you're constantly trying to get and need, then things are just not going to want you. And I feel like that energy just comes right back in your face. So I've really, over the last couple of years, I've really learned to just try and not need anything, and then realize that I will lovingly accept whatever experience comes my way. And I trust that God will provide for me. And maybe God will use money in that way. Maybe God will send me, maybe a client wants to trade something and they'll fix my car. Like, that wasn't technically money, So it's like, money isn't the thing. It's like, you feel how you want to feel. And then that reality of that feeling will just come right back to you.
I love that.
So that is kind of, for me, what I've landed on is I've just decided to feel how I want to feel. When I before was like, oh, when I get this thing, I want to get this thing because I think it will create this feeling inside of me, right? That's why anyone ever wants to get
Yeah.
anything. Like, they think it will provide a feeling for them. And so really you realize that that feeling is accessible to you before anything else, but then the universe has nothing else, has no other choice than to reflect back to you that feeling because you sent it that feeling.
Yeah. Do you take time every day? Do you have a set aside time to practice manifestation, or do you do it throughout the day as you're just kind of going?
It honestly is just like it's just like who I
Yeah.
am in a weird way, as in, like, I don't ever like be like, okay, time to pray. I am in like constant communication with God, my future self. I talk to my future self a lot. And in my business endeavors and what I'm doing right now, there's been a lot of blocks, there's been a lot of hurdles, there's been also a lot of fears, there's been a lot of like, there's like some imposter syndrome to fight, and like all these things. And I've I've prayed, or whatever you want to say, communicated with the version of myself that's already done all these things, and like I'm having her help me and be like, hey, show me how you did this. And then God just is able to create that clear vision of how it happens. And I think it really is just literally faith. Like when you trust and know that that force wants to use you as a tool to bless other people's lives, God wants that to happen. Like, God wants that. Like, God's not going to be like, all right, but like, we're going to play a little game here. Like, you know.
Yep, I love it. You said two things in there that were really, really important to me. Thing number one, you talk to your future self. Talk to me about the power in talking to your future self and how you do that, because I think that's a valuable lesson for people. We get so stuck in the quagmire of the day to day. We like it's easy to say this thing went wrong, this thing went wrong, this thing went wrong. To break myself out of it, this is stupid, but not even stupid. This is what works for me. I actually carry around a little book in my back pocket, and I write down all the good things that happen to me all the time, so that I can practice the mantra, "Good things happen to me," and that's how I operate. And so, like, I can open my book, I start writing them down, and just whatever feels right to write in my book, right? I also use it for manifestation to write down my goals. Like, I have this with me almost all the time. Talk to me how talking to your future self. A, what does that sound like? And B, how does that help give you the confidence and energy to overcome those struggles and trials that everybody has, but especially entrepreneurs?
Right. So there's this practice that I've been doing. I learned it from a book that I read a couple months ago. And if you've heard of the book Conversations with God, it's a book where a man is typing or writing and asking God questions. And then he's also writing God's response back through like this channeling, revelatory experience with God, helping him answer his questions. And I was reading this book, and she was referencing this book, Conversations with God. And she's saying, look, like you can write God a letter, sit in your feelings for however long you feel like you need, and then pick up your pencil and watch what comes through. And when I say, it literally is as if something else has my hand in grasp. It's insane. And so I used to kind of just like talk to my future self and like kind of sit, but I started writing her letters. In fact, I did it literally yesterday. And it is so, I mean, I can't even make it up. I absolutely cannot make it up. Even like the language that she uses to speak, or God, if I'm, writing a letter to God, this has been like a very tangible experience with a version of yourself that literally exists right now. Like God knows how your life's gonna happen, like before you even come here, like, and so it's already known, it's already in existence. You just haven't reached it yet in the linear time scheme. And so she's there wanting to help me, and it's inevitable, right? It's gonna happen. Like she's me, I'm her, she's real. And that practice is something that I've been doing a lot the last couple of months, and it's been a very clear form of literal communication. And I mean, I've had all of my blocks and restrictions within myself like completely blasted into like a way that I can see it. And I'm like, geez, okay. Like it's absolutely wild. And I don't tell a lot of people because I know a lot of people would probably be like, okay. And I'm like, I'm only going to tell people who are going to like welcome me with accepting energy and match my energy of like the exciting experience. And I'm like, even if it is woo woo and fake and in my head, I'm like, I'm still getting all my answers. Like, even if I'm accessing a part of my brain that maybe has the answers, and me getting in that meditative space brings it up, like, I don't know what's happening, but either way, I'm getting all those answers.
Well, and I love that. And what I want to say to those people who like question your modalities, your thought process, like the hell with them, right? I'm reading a book right now called The Let Them Theory by Mel. I read a lot by Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
And like the whole premise is let people have their thoughts and opinions about you. Like you don't have to give that credence. That is not who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I absolutely love that side of it. Jimmy, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I want to add on to that. I think, people might think that's crazy, but it's how true it really is. Is we might call them vision boards, future boards, whatever it might be, but how many of us have had past memories and we've talked to ourselves in the past?
Yes.
Like as we're a little kid, like I wish I would have done this. We're talking to ourselves as an adult. We've all done it.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so there shouldn't be anything crazy about talking to our future self either. it's just goals, but we're putting ourselves in there and we're having a higher power help us out with it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. One of the things that I wanted to touch base on that you said a minute ago was you had some imposter syndrome. Now, it sounds like maybe through some of writing to your future self and going through that process has helped remove that. I anticipate that as you grew your business, from 2020, end of 2019 until now, really, so 5 years, 6 years, we'll call it, increasing prices, increasing the things that you've done to get to where you're at. There was probably moments where you thought, can I do that? Should I be charging $1,200? Should I be like doing this? And eventually you overcame that, which is amazing. How do you overcome that imposter syndrome? And when it starts to creep back up into your life, how do you push it out?
Right. So I've never struggled with imposter syndrome until breaking through the barriers of what I'm doing right now, stepping into a more like authoritative educator um,
Yeah,
platform. I've been very comfortable with one-on-one. I'm very confident in my product, and I think for me, there's a difference between being a good scientist and being a good science teacher.
right.
It's two different parts of the brain. I'm really, really good at making my product. I'm really good at understanding color theory and how to make these colors. I'm really good at doing hair and knowing what to do. But I was like, man, am I able to enter a space where I can teach someone else how to do this? It's like I know how to do that math problem, but teaching someone else how to do this math problem, like you just like do this and this and this, like.
Yeah,
And so I really struggled feeling blocked, like I don't know how to translate what I know within my capacity in a way that your brain and your capacity will match that and be able to like reach the potential that I know you can through understanding this. Like, how can I teach you as if you are a child in a way that you'll understand that will meet everyone's needs too? I mean, like, because everyone needs to be taught different,
yeah,
right? And so I really struggled with feeling fearful of like, what if I attempt to be this educator and make all these like educational opportunities for people to take, and then suddenly like no one can figure out what I'm doing because I don't know how to teach it well. And it's taken a lot of time understanding how to translate what I'm doing into English and like energy instead of out of just like a knowing. And that's come a lot with sitting with myself and meditating and having those conversations with my future self and allowing myself. A lot of it I feel like has been energetically letting go of the one-on-one, because you can't hold on to everything and expect new things to come because you only have so much space. Like you can't just like buy a new house without leaving your old house.
yeah.
Like, you know.
And I 100% love that. I'm a huge fan of saying, just go do it. I talk to my team all the time about taking imperfect action. You know that you have to get to the next level and it's not going to be pretty and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Learning from those mistakes is the most important thing. So I'm a
Mhm.
huge fan of not only taking imperfect action, but then putting in the reps. The more you teach, the more you talk to somebody, the more you train, the more comfortable, natural, easy it's going to be to flow and kind of shift as people have different learning styles. And you have to put in the reps, right?
Mhm.
Michael Jordan didn't become Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant didn't become Kobe Bryant without taking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of shots. I don't remember the statistics, but Michael Jordan was entrusted with the game-winning shot like, I don't remember, 100 times or 150 times, and he failed like 70 times out of that 150 times. I don't remember the number, but we all have those moments when we're working towards greatness that we have to overcome and realize, I messed up. I'm going to try again. And as you're moving on to that next plane, maybe it's like, okay, I have to give somebody an extra 2 weeks of training, or like give them some money back, or whatever that looks like to make it so that your energy is right in the world. But anybody who's gotten to where they are successful in business and their own personal life, they failed to get there,
Yep.
right? You have to go through those steps. So I'm super excited for you, and I think you're exactly right. You do have to move out of one space to get into another one, and that doesn't mean you abandon or don't love your old house anymore. It's just that you appreciate it for what it was. And I told my wife this all the time. We kept as our kids got bigger and as we moved and moved, I would always look back and say that was a wonderful house for what we needed at the time.
Yep.
And now we're moving into a new one that suits us better.
Mhm.
So that's how I feel.
Yep.
go about it. Man, this is absolutely incredible. Jimmy, did you have any other questions? And I'm going to throw it out. I know we've had people kind of jumping on, joining and leaving, and that's fine. We'll put the podcast out in its entirety. But if you have any questions for Whitney, please drop those in and we'll get to those. And Whitney, also kind of in this little break here, drop where people can follow you. If they're not following you for some weird reason, they should be. But where can they follow? Where can they find you?
They can find me at dreaded.wit on Instagram, TikTok, dreaded.wit. My website is dreadedwit.com. You can message me in my chat box if you want to.
Yeah. Oh, a chat box. Love it. Love it. Okay, so you guys can message her. She dropped it in the chat at dreaded.wit. Make sure you follow her if you're not. Not only does she have amazing, her work on there is beautiful, but as you can see, she's just a beautiful soul. She's a great follow. So make sure you go and do that thing. Talk to us a little bit because, and I hope it's okay we talk about this, but you kind of have, and you alluded to it, but you have a big event coming up this weekend.
Yeah, so Saturday I'm doing a free live masterclass on Zoom, and it's going to be accessible for free or for replay for a couple weeks for all the people that like aren't able to attend live. But I'm going to be teaching the 3 keys to making and installing a beautiful and damage-free set of dreadlock extensions. So over the last 5 years, I've kind of entered the areas where like I've caused tension bumps like while I was learning, like I didn't know anything, and I would have clients with tension bumps. I would also have clients, the colors I was doing, like, were just kind of meh, like it was fine. But once I figured out how to use color theory in its fullest to blend and make colors for my clients custom to them, and then learning how to install properly without causing the tension bumps, which is going to be key in the comfort and the health of the hair throughout the duration of the style, and also understanding the weight parameters and how that fluctuates with the clients depending on their hair type paired with the weight of the dreadlocks you're having, like the sectioning size and all that. Anyways, those are the 3 pillars that once they're lined up as ducks in a row, you're going to have a very positive experience. So I'm teaching a class. It's free. It'll probably be about an hour, and there will be a live replay, and then we'll do a live Q&A after. And yeah, so
So this is a straight give back to your community. So anybody who's following you, all the 16,900 people, almost 17,000 people, if you guys are not joining her for an hour on Saturday, you guys are absolutely bananas because you're following her for a reason. One thing you did say in there, though, that I'm intrigued about, what is a tension bump? For those who don't know, like Jimmy probably doesn't know.
yeah. So
I mean, I do, but go
Oh, it's
ahead.
for me then. You're right. Busted.
like you're giving me tension bumps right now. So tension bumps, what it is when a follicle, so you have the hair strand coming out of the follicle that has the hair bulb, which is the base of the hair strand that creates the hair. It's like the birthing center of the hair. So each bulb can handle a certain amount of weight before it starts to become like inflamed and irritated, and you'll get like a little like zit like bump on that follicle, and usually it happens around the hairline or anywhere that there's just too much pressure, tension, or weight. So pulling really tight can cause them, or if it's just you're braided too tight, then you can get them everywhere. But there's a couple different ways they can show up. But once they show up, it could get like a little pussy inside. It just looks like a little zit. So it gets a
Okay.
little inflamed, and the hair, when you itch it, like they get a little itchy, then the hair will just go, beep, it'll just like fall
Oh,
out. And if those consistently are showing up, it can damage that hair bulb, and then the hair will just grow back thinner and finer. Kind of like when you like get waxed over and over. The idea is that over time you'll damage
me
that
and
bulb.
Jimmy are both like, yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So the bulb will get damaged over time, which will then cause the hair to grow back weaker. And so it can cause even long-term issues if they persist, which is not good.
So we didn't mean to go down the bulbous hair route. Thank you for that. I mean, I did. I didn't know it was going to be that intense. But if you ever had any doubt that like Whitney knows her stuff, now you know, right? Nobody thought you were going to hear about the hair birthing center tonight, and so like that is super fantastic that we now know about that. Yeah, amazing. So just a couple more questions for me. Really, one more, and then Jimmy, we're going to come to you for the mental health moment here pretty quick. But Whitney, I always love to ask people, what's a dirty little secret in your industry that we don't know about?
As in, like, between the dread artists?
Dread artist. I'll even give you, because you also went to school for like all sorts of hair things, just
Mm-hmm.
anything in the genre. But yeah, what's a dirty little secret? And I didn't prep her
Oh.
for this, but I'm going to give her a minute to think. And what I mean by dirty little secret is there's always something inside the industry, right? Where, for example, like in the marketing agency world, a lot of marketers don't know what they're talking about all the time.
Mhm.
We had a chiropractor, and he said people fart when they're being adjusted. And so, like, it's like there's all sorts of random things that happen inside the industry that people just kind of sweep under the rug.
Right.
How's about DH? I mean, the dirty little secrets. I mean,
DH.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're gonna absolve ourselves from that. We do not want Whitney getting in trouble. We need no lawsuits at this point in the ball game. She's got good money coming in the door.
Oh my gosh, I can't think of anything.
Squeaky clean industry.
I
Squeaky clean
think
industry.
I think the dirtiest secret is that the hair only cost me like $1. Like it
that's
cost.
not dirty though. That's like
I
amazing.
I'm
know.
telling you, margins, 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 margins.
Oh, I seriously, I can't think of anything.
Okay, here that might be a dirty little secret, but here's amazing is if everyone could do it, they
Yeah.
would. But they can't, and that's why you can make $1,200 off a dollar hair.
Yeah, that.
Pretty good margins. Pretty good margins. No, I love it. Whitney, you've been absolutely a joy to have. You are amazing. We will definitely push whatever we need to push to help get your class full on Saturday. Let us know how we can participate. Make sure we're serving you properly. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time tonight.
Thank you.
If anybody has any questions or they do want to hit Whitney up separately, drop it one more time. I know you put it in the comments for us, but let's say it so people have it when we put it on air.
At dreaded.wit.
At Dreaded Whit. You can
What,
find her
what?
on. And
Be careful, your finger might type dreaded.shit.
oh yes, different account, different
Yes,
account.
yes.
And sometimes if you have it really bad, it is dreaded. But all that aside, make sure you either hit her on Instagram. Same on TikTok.
Yep.
So Instagram, TikTok, wherever you like to get your social media. Follow her. She's a beautiful follow. You can order product from her. You can set up an appointment to have your hair done with her. You can attend her master class. You can also visit her website at
Dreaded.wit.
Dreaded Whit. And you can apparently hit it on the chat bot. So make sure you do that too. But anyway, Wendy, thank you so much for being with us. Jimmy, let's turn it over to you to take it home with our desert counseling mental health moment.
Yeah, you bet. You know, I love this conversation. You know, just like Whitney's, dreadlocks they take time, they take care, they're patient. We need to do that with our own mental health well-being. And when we do that, and when we truly embrace ourselves, it builds true confidence. It gives ourselves permission to be authentic. And when we are authentic and we're true to ourselves, we take care of ourselves, then we can just embrace who we fully are.
I love it.
So that's my little mental health moment.
Embrace who you really are. Be authentically you. Love you guys. Thank you again, Wendy, for being with us. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Whitney.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.